So I put up this map. I made up this map, and just as some background, the topography is actually from a place called OpenTopoMap.org, and it's someplace near the border of Chad and Libya where there's just not a lot of man-made geography, so you can get quite a big chunk of just topography with no labels on it, which is what I did to make this map. But anyway, in our game, this map is the environs of Masada, and I put these little symbols are sort of adapted from some symbols that they used in the first edition rulebook, which you told me you have actually, John, so you can see where I got those from. But they're just little. These are all sections basically, and I kind of just spread them around to speculating. This isn't like locked down, but I'm just speculating on where different sections' common assignments might be. And so you've got these sort of like your support sections are kind of helping out these different communities in the area with infrastructure and building up their infrastructure is kind of a goodwill thing. But support is also available to, they're also building structures on your base, Fort Homecoming here, and maintaining things on base. You've got to sort of look into what the area is. So, when we last left, you were leaving the monastery, which we now know is called Serene Wish, and you were returning to base. It's called Fort Homecoming, but of course, soldiers just know it as base. And what it is actually it's centered on a monastery tower, like one of those cylindrical towers that I described in the previous game, which is sort of a tall cylindrical tower with, light panels that let sunlight in selectively at different times of the day, and like climate control in the interior, and just multiple levels of different housing and different, areas with different functions. And so the fort, the tower, everyone calls it the tower, and it used to be a monastery. Northern Guard bought it from the revisionist church as part of the deal by which your regiment came in to, defend the area or occupy the area, depending on who you ask. And so inside this tower, at the base of the tower in the center is a sort of chapel that gets a lot of white pillars surrounding a central open area with like plants, beautiful plants and flowers and sunlight coming in, to make a kind of beautiful natural / man-made environment. And this chapel is where everyone in the regiment who is on base meets every morning for this morning, meditation and, a message from the colonel who sort of leads this this devotional message. And then around the tower, and the other areas in the tower are mostly, some of them are on-duty quarters for the officers of the regiment, who many of them have their families with them, and they also have apartments in Masada, in the city itself. I have a ton of information that I've just been imagining this stuff, so I'm gonna try to keep it from being a total info dump about everything in the area that I've thought of in my head. But for now, let's talk about the base. So there's officers' quarters. Second company is the senior company in the regiment, and so they actually have their quarters, their what do you call it? Their non-coms and their just rank and file quarters are in the tower. Everyone else is in these little huts, or these Quonset huts and barracks and sheds outside that are sort of arranged in a ring outside of the tower, and they're all made of this panel. I keep talking about these panels that things are made of, so I decided to give it a name, like it's called, they call it Sunwall. And so it's this panel that's sort of the smoky, transparent plastic that can change transparency to let in or block more sun. And it's got all this like these like patterns and traceries in it that are part of this like complex system that captures moisture and you know moisture and generates solar electricity. So you can build a building out of these different panels and put up like little the interior of the building. There'll be little power nodes that where they collect the input from different panels and in electricity and water and distribute it to each little building. And so that's sort of like what everything looks like on the outside and the inside. All of these little sort of cool geometrical faceted huts clustered around this big cylindrical tower. And so, you know, this is the place that you would return to when you come back from your patrol stint, and you know you would park your gears in the garage and you know hit the sack in your various quarters. And what was I? Oh, I was supposed to make up an NPC for FICA to talk to, but I have a general idea. But anyway, but we'll get to that in a minute. I've got some, just talk about a couple of vignettes for you that we can look at. But first of all, you go to sleep, and in the morning, you would go to everyone would go to the regimental morning meditation. And when it breaks up, you've all got different, like maybe for the time being you don't you're not going to be on patrol today, or maybe the next couple of days. Your duties are, you've got different base duties to attend to. Like Chalk has a lot of different maintenance and teaching tasks that she does around the base. And FICA and the rest, you can do a little maintenance, a little training, and probably some lying around or just screwing off too, like soldiers will do when they get the opportunity. But as you're before you go off to do your different tasks, right? After the morning meditation, your section leader, who I characterize a little more, will come up to y'all, and so this guy is named Willie Dazan. His call sign is, I'll put this in the chat too. His call sign is Crusher, and he is of course the skinniest guy in the company. His claim to fame and how he got his name is how he had to, in basic, he had to take remedial physical training twice. Hence Crusher. But so he's this gangly guy in his I guess pilot outfit. I guess they probably don't compel you to put on your dress uniform every morning to go to church. So everyone's in their pilot jumpsuits, and he sort of comes up to you and goes and tells you, get all right, hey guys, it's a real quick thing. I don't think he wants to make a big deal of us. He just says, hey, you earned these, and he passes you each. I guess probably Spider, Chalk, and I think Stitch were the people with confirmed kills. So he gives you each a little piece of paper with a little glossy black medallion shaped like a tombstone on it. And these are the kill markers. Now, these are not official medals, so you never wear them on your dress blues, and there's a comportment order not to wear them in civilian areas around Masada, but some of the cockier veterans in Second Company have worn them in South Station when they thought they could get away with it. Just to clarify a little on that, South Station is sort of, this is the last stop on the Pilgrim Road from the south before Masada. It's where your actual checkpoints are, where your regiment, stops people and searches them basically, and it's also kind of the off-duty hangout for the regiment, for soldiers to go and blow off steam. Masada, you generally don't actually go in unless you have R&R, like a full weekend or several days off. Just day-to-day life, if you just feel like seeing something different, and going to see a movie, or a holographic movie or something, or going to a cafe, you would go into South Station. But anyway, so he just gives them to you, very low key, doesn't make a big deal about it, and says, good work out there once again, and heads off his own way. And I think Stitch kind of just takes a quick look at it and puts it in her pocket, like with an abstracted look on her face. Just out of curiosity, do the two of you have any special reaction to this?
If Fika looks at it and sort of, she'll kind of look to Chalk, I think, to kind of raise her eyebrow of like, and then put it, and then kind of put it away, but we'll looking to Chalk to see if Chalk says something else about it.
Well, actually, what Chalk will do is she'll actually take her cigarettes and put them behind her cigarettes, and she'll just say that I know it's unpleasant, but wearing with pride, it could have been you, it could have been that outlaw painted the skull on his gear with you.
It's these little ones. The coffin is 5. That's cheerful.
So actually, is it common to paint kills on your gear?
I don't know if there's a official by the book answer to that. I would say for this duty, you are not, particularly for this regiment and for this duty, you are not allowed to paint the kills on your gear, because you could pull duty. You could pull like an honor guard duty where you stand around on the road outside Masada looking impressive, and they don't want like display like these sort of anything that they think is morbid. This is kind of like the higher ups trying to manage the political image of your regiment. So you've probably gotten this memo of like, don't do this. And that's something that they will watch pretty carefully, right? Like people like, older veterans hanging around a cafe in South Station with their kill markers on their jacket is not as big a a photo or whatever, like a photo that someone take as, gears walking around in front of Masada with these, skulls painted on the side of them or whatever. So,
Right. Right. Okay. Which doesn't stops us from putting stuff inside the cockpit.
Yeah, that's right. So that was just a little vignette that I wanted to look into, and I'm trying to let's see. I'm trying to think about some order of operations stuff in terms of just some other things that will happen or that you may hear about or experience on base. But for now, let me start by John asking you a little bit. So you were thinking that Fika would confide in a friend?
Yeah, I mean, I think just thinking about her experience with kind of the debriefing afterwards.
Right.
I mean, at some point, she would try to, I think, take some of the downtime, do all the things she needs to do, but would want to try to take some of the downtime to kind of find someone to blow off steam with, who isn't like in necessarily another gear pilot, not necessarily someone who isn't in the military, but someone who's sort of out of.
Well, right. No, I understand that. I was thinking though, it might be. I had been thinking of someone who might maybe be in the, what they would have used to call the secretarial pool or whatever, like a programmer or someone who works in the office or administrative functions. Unless you, like, I didn't even think of the possibility that you might have already made friends, like in town, like civilian friends. But for now, let's just think of this person as someone who works doing computer, data analysis or whatever. And I wanted to bring up the idea because in the book, one of the things they talk about is the idea that Northern revisionists have this institution called bond twins, which are kind of like childhood friends institutionalized as a church practice, like where the parents like put these two kids together and like have them go everywhere, and like parents do, but there's this religious cast to it where you've got this honorary title associated with it. And I was wondering if you thought that might be interesting as a thing.
That makes sense.
So you had this relationship as children, and you sort of like found yourself in the same regiment by a little bit of chance, but not entirely, because you're both very religious, right? And it's kind of you would have gravitated. People would have noticed and sort of gravitated towards putting you in here, and probably they know. It's formally on your jacket that you're bond twins, and so they're actually that's a really good idea. Now that I think about it, is looking into that relationship among other soldiers in the regiment, because that's sort of would really characterize like the religious, nature of the regiment in an extra special way. Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But anyway, so let's just talk about this one relationship. And so I'm naming this character Emmy Trayer. That sounds ominous, but that's not what I meant. And so you would probably have like paperwork to fill out on the incidents still. And so you would be filling that paperwork out. Oops. I can't remember. How long have I been talking since Sean left the room? Are we cutting him out?
Wait, I'm not sure. What did he say? His name?
He might enjoy hearing about what's going on. I was going on with you because we were doing some backstory stuff. We were putting together some backstory stuff here, but I'll wait for Sean.
Yeah, let's wait for the scene.
Get back a little bit, and then
I agree with that. Yeah, I like that idea. And I can imagine that, like, more just the backstory. Imagine Fika. I think maybe often also kind of. I think probably the situation is when Fika's back on base, in between missions, she probably has a little bit more of flexibility or structured time, whereas Emmy is like always sort of is working on a more regular schedule. So I think Fika will often try to stop by or swing by and kind of bother her while she's working.
right.
But in this case, it's like she's actually, Fika's actually, it sounds like she could be over there, filling some paperwork out. So it's
right.
kind of already.
Yeah. So So as we were saying, Sean, Fika has done some paperwork on her incident report, for her contact report, whatever they would call it, and is now gonna walk that over to the tower, and you take an elevator up to the third or fourth floor of this tower or whatever, and walk out and drop it off with the appropriate office, and stop by Emmy's desk while you're there. Or like you said, you could be like, oh, I still got to fill out this one last page, and you could be sitting there filling it out while you're talking to her. And she, I think, will say, blessed spirit, Fika, I heard you were in combat. Are you okay? Did you get hurt?
Everything turned out well for us. Everything turned out well for us, going up against those marauders. I was good fate was with me, but the whole it's not the combat, it was not the fight itself, but the whole experience, I don't know, left kind of gave me a bad feeling, and it's like I say, it's not the fight, but it's, I don't know, I've always been so sure of our mission, and yet when we were trying to help those people out there, they were we're trying to help those people, but if I mean, it's just complicated. We're trying to help those people, but at the same time, I don't think, at the same time, I don't think they see us as their friends. And I will, I kind of wonder if we're just. I felt that we had just kind of maybe butted into someplace we didn't belong.
All right. She looks, sort of uncomfortable and, distressed for you as you say that, and she says, I wish we didn't, put soldiers through that kind of thing. Like, soldiers are supposed to just fight, it's supposed to be easy. I mean, not easy, I'm sorry, but you know what I mean.
Oh no, I know. I can handle the fighting. When the battle was going on, I knew exactly what to do. We handled it quickly, but it was afterwards that I don't know. I don't know that I have. I don't know that I have what it takes to make some of these hard decisions.
Okay. She says, "Well, you can always talk to me, and we can meditate in the spirit whenever you like, and hopefully you'll come through this dark." Oh, I just saw Sean's message about his nickname anyway. But she says, "Hopefully we'll come through this dark time in, what would be the word? Ascended in spirit." There's a little bit of a, for such an important setting element, there's a little bit of a paucity of how exactly these people in this religion talk to each other in the main book, having to make it up as I go along. And I notice you are too. That's fine. I mean, just throw in, the broad strokes. You can throw in details that seem to make sense, right? And so, after that,
Yeah, I'll kind of drop off my paperwork. I'll put my hand on hers and say, well, I guess I've got to get back to work. I'll let you get back to work.
yeah, okay.
That's enough about my problems. I'll let you get back to work.
All right. And as you walk out, like the XO of the regiment, Sergeant Major Avila, sort of a tall, stocky man, pats you on the shoulder and says, "Good work out there, Ranger. Everyone's talking about it."
Oh, thank you, sir. I was just trying to do, just doing my job.
All right.
I'm glad we all got back safe. That's the most important thing.
Right. And then he passes by and heads, or you ride down the elevator together and you sort of head back to quarters, and he heads over to the garage where Chalk is going to be. So Chalk
Chalk is most of the time, probably.
Yeah. So right now, Chalk is. You've got this assignment. You've been, I think, maybe someone from command came by to drop off some chips with new map telemetry. And so you've been loading those up into the gears, and that is not just a lampshade on the fact that I made a map. It's also that when you're, when you check out the maps, you see that the patrol routes have changed, and Tobin Homestead, where you had that fight, is now in the no-go zone. That's part of the zone designated as is basically high contact with Peace River, and so you notice that's been taken off your patrol route. And while you're sort of looking at that, Avila, like the XO, the regimental XO, comes by and says, "How those?" I think he probably. Let's think about getting around on this base. It's big enough that he would probably ride a little trike or a dune buggy type thing. And so he's pulling up into the garage on like a little let's call it a trike, like and you know he says, how those machines treating you, Chalk?
Oh, you know, they're all a little bit flighty, but they're doing all right.
Well,
And after a second, she's like, "Sir, sir."
sure, yeah. All right, he's like, at ease. You've known each other for years, so he doesn't take it too seriously when you, if you miss a salute or whatever. But he tells you, well, find a place to wrap it up because we kind of got there's some kind of situation in Fifth Company, and they're asking for you to help straighten one of their new guys out, who apparently is sinking bad with his gear.
Okay, got it.
Well, he may just wait for you, and you know he has another seat on his little vehicle, and he'll ferry you over there when you wrap things up.
Okay.
But
Yeah, Chalk will grab her stuff.
Okay, and so he'll ferry you out to like this kind of training range area out on the edge of the base where there's a couple people gathered who all look like they're really aggravated to be there. It's Captain Innerman, the commander of Fifth Company, is there with a couple of her staff, and you recognize one of the mechanics from support as well. You know, standing around with them, and they're kind of watching a pilot in a gear in one of the hunters going through this sort of rigged up obstacle course where he's like firing on the move at these different targets, and he's pulling hard to the left every time. You know, he's just not hitting any of these targets, and like when you pull up, you know, when you and so many names Avila pull up in the trike, you know, captain says, afternoon, Sergeant. Well, as you can see, we've got some problems with our young man here. Corporal Camarden can't hit the goddamn broadside of a barn. And then the mechanic says to you, hey Sarge, so you know, I ran, the software diagnostics are all green, electrical tests all green. I actually opened up the arm hatches and checked the actuators for mechanical damage. They're fine. This kid has got to be doing something wrong, or he's not sinking. So that's all I can say. I'm not a trainer, so it's out of my wheelhouse.
All right, no problem. I'll as this guy's walking around, Chalk will sort of like whistle and wave over.
Okay. So the Captain Innerman, as you signal, she will like sort of back you up by. She's got a portable radio, and she will say, all right, take a breather, Cameron. Come on over. And then he sort of like the gear stops and, you know, slowly trundles over towards you in its walk mode, and he pops the hatch, and he's sort of plaintively said, And he sort of like sees you and plaintively says, "I swear, the training gears never did this. My numbers are like, my firing range numbers are like 87%."
Well, field gear is different than training gear sometimes. They have their little quirks, and gotta learn to relax into it. So I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, okay?
Yes, sir.
And she'll just sort of she'll talk a little. She'll she'll double check everything the mechanic said, not because she doesn't believe him, just because.
Right.
That's what Chalk does. She's thorough. Yeah. It's like, okay, you have any headaches? Any double vision?
Yeah. No, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
I'm
queasy? She getting queasy in there?
No, sir. I feel fine. I'm just frustrated. I'm doing everything.
Yeah.
He's describing, like, I'm doing everything the way they taught us, and So I think probably he's like you said, right? They've got their quirks. So, for the record, I use the word sync. There's not any kind of weird Evangelion stuff going on in this setting. It's just like that the gears, the gears do have quirks because they're kind of based on this artificial intelligence core that has to be trained, and so you have to adapt what you learned from the very thoroughly broken in training gears who are always in the same situation over and over again, and then when you're in a field gear, it might have these weird quirks that you have to work out, right? So, and that's what
recalibration.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not just mechanical or software recalibration. There's an element of human control in terms of you've got these joysticks and these like levers that are supposed to make the gear react in predictable ways, but sometimes there's variance in how far the arm moves when you pull it this hard versus that hard and things like that. So
just remember, and I'll tell them, just remember that training gear it is easy. Training gear has been there before, right? Well, in these field gears, they haven't necessarily seen combat. They haven't done this training course 100 times. You can't don't over compensate. Okay, it's pulling to the left probably because you're trying to force it too hard. But don't worry, hey, I did that when I was, and whether Chalk did or didn't, she always tells them, hey, I did that when I was there too. So don't feel bad.
Okay.
So she will check the gear out.
Okay.
And she will, of course, talk to the gear.
Okay, right.
She'll say, hey, how you doing? How you getting on with your pilot? And that might freak him out, I don't know, but...
All right. All right, so you get in the gear and you check it out. You notice he's... as you're actually talking to, he's sort of sheepishly says, so how would he say, you say something to the gear and he says, actually her name is Amaranth.
Amaranth? I like that. And
Yeah.
Chalk will use that name.
All right. He says, I wrote a story. He starts telling you, I wrote a story when I was in secondary school, and I always about a training. He goes on about his, Gear Gladiator fan fiction that he wrote in secondary school, and that's where he got this name from, and how I always liked it. but after you,
And Chalk will, and
oh,
Chalk
go
will
ahead.
definitely listen to it.
Okay. And so he talks about that for a while, and so you sort of check out the gear and confirm that everything's green, and then he's sort of like, okay, but what do I actually do? And you know, so here's sort of where probably we want a teaching role to finally come in.
Okay.
That's my whole rationale for coming up with this scene.
Oh no, I love it. That's great. Okay, so I've got 2 dice and I'm at +1.
Yeah.
I rolled a 5 +1, so 6.
Okay, 6. Okay, so you sort of go out with him like onto the range again, and I think you need to kind of watch him what he's doing and put your hand like on the stick while his hand on the stick is, and kind of move, move it like this, move it like that, and he sort of starts to pick up on it, and he's hitting it after a couple of minutes of sort of it clicking with him. He's hitting targets on a more regular basis, and he sort of just says, "Oh, wow, I think I get it." It's like
Yeah, remember it's it's not, you're not, it's like you look like a big infantryman, but remember, like do the arm things. It's like, so normally you'd be carrying your gun like this, but in here you're like this, and you just have to kind of
Right.
get used to how that feels.
right.
Don't clutch her too tight.
Okay. Okay, and so you can sort of wrap that up and say goodbye to him. I think.
And just so just so she does her signature thing, she'll get out and she'll take a piece of chalk
Okay.
and she'll just like she'll exit and like, oh, this one's good.
Okay. Nice. All right, and so you walk back, and Captain Inderman will say, "Thanks, Sergeant. Really looks like you straightened this kid out. He's going out on patrol tomorrow."
Sure.
So I was. Oh, pardon. Says he's going out on patrols tomorrow, so we were worried.
I think it'll be all right.
Okay.
Why do I have a feeling that if I'd failed that roll, that kid would be like dead tomorrow?
It was not necessarily a sure thing, but yes, that's kind of the direction that was going to take if you had failed. It wasn't looking good for him. I probably spent too much time thinking about what would happen if you had failed, and not enough time thinking about what would happen if you succeeded, which is everything, which is as it was. But but that's a little thing, and so you can go ahead and head back to the garage and finish up your work, and probably after that, I guess what I'd kind of like to know is just a general idea of what kind of, like in the evening when you're sort of done with your duties on base, because you didn't have to go out today on patrol. Just sort of what would you do? What would your characters do? And if you think you'd go into South Station, I can describe it a little more.
Is there a tattoo artist in South Station?
That's a good question. Sure, why not? There's a lot of stuff in South Station.
So, Chalk is going to go into South Station, and I don't know how many kills she might have had in the previous conflict. But
I
those
mean,
would all
that's
be on her right arm.
right. That's probably up to you, right? So don't make a crazy number like
Well,
27.
Yeah, no. She was younger then, so 5.
Okay.
But on her left arm, she's going to start getting. So she's got like 5 little coffin symbols on her right arm. So now on her
Right.
left arm, she's going to have someone start tattooing the others.
Okay. And
That's kind of how she gets around the whole not wearing it on your uniform thing.
right, right. And what would Fika be doing in the evening?
Yeah, I think she'll try to grab Emmy and then go into South Station, thinking that if I'm going to be back on patrol tomorrow, I want to, take what opportunity I have to get a little bit more recreation in, but probably doing something fairly tame. I think, like
Right.
maybe go see a movie or some type of
Right, and uplifting, you know.
yeah, officially sanctioned sort of
Yeah.
happy time movie.
Right. And so the way I picture South Station is you've got this sort of central plaza, like it's kind of a combination of enclosures and open airs, so it's more of a built-up town. But even the open air places have like canopies, like shade canopies, so there's not you're never totally exposed to the elements, right? But there's like this central like roundabout plaza with in the middle is like a holographic statue of the prophet speaking to the Badlanders, and all of these just pilgrim vehicles are going around this roundabout and heading to different places in South Station to get more supplies or to take one last night of rest, or they're going straight into Masada. And at these branch off places, at this branch off on the road to the Masada, heading out of South Station is where the Northern Guard checkpoint is. The second company's first section is currently manning the checkpoint where pilgrims are passing through, and some of them are stopped. This is kind of from what you've heard, a lot of you haven't done a rotation on this duty yet, but a lot of the pilots talk about it being kind of unpleasant, because when you have to search these pilgrims, they're co-religionists, and so they kind of know how to complain. When they complain or when they are aggrieved, they can speak your language, and like it. A lot of people feel very pained and uncertain about whether they're doing the right thing when they're having to search these pilgrim caravans. So it's a weird thing where when you're off in the evenings, you can go here and watch a movie or relax and have a coffee or whatever. But there's always this kind of thing hanging over your head. And Chalk is your tattoo artist is actually kind of on one of these side alleys, way off the main square, right? Like you're in the seedy part of town, which probably isn't even that seedy for it's seedy for a place that's seedy for a place that's right next to the Vatican. I don't know. It could be pretty seedy. But,
It could be, yeah.
Well, I figure if you can figure that if any, if pilgrims are coming through, that means there's going to be a certain amount of like, a certain amount of like money or kind of coming through, and that's always going to kind of spread
attract
out.
it. Yeah. There's like scam artists and stuff like that hanging around town. So But Chalk gets her tattoo, and the tattoo artist will probably chat to her a bit and say, I was in the war. I was in the war too. It's on the other side, though. I don't know. Maybe you shot at me, or maybe I shot at you. I don't remember all I did.
Chalk will laugh and say, yeah, no, wars are hard times, but I never had any hard feelings. Soldiers do what they have to do.
Yeah, they sure do. I tell you what, I don't know about you, but for me, this is a hell of a lot easier than being a soldier.
I bet it is. Well, I'm glad to give some business to a fellow veteran.
Yeah, pleasure doing work on you. If you ever want a bigger piece, let me know. I am the best tattoo artist in South Station, and the only one. So
there you go. Something to hang your hat on.
Yeah. All right. And then man.
Does he seem particularly religious? Or
he does not. I don't think. Were you?
Yeah, I was just curious about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just curious about
that. Okay. And meanwhile, Fika and Emmy are watching a movie about a young revisionist missionary who falls in love with an unbeliever and changes his heart and mind, or something like that.
Yeah.
Emmy cries at the end.
No, and Fika is still kind of brooding a little bit. It doesn't quite like the effect of it is not to escape from her things. It just kind of she comes out of it thinking and even saying to Emmy it just seems so easy. I thought that if I tried to listen to the prophet's voice, then the decisions would just come naturally. But I thought I did, and I still ended up worried that I didn't do the right thing afterwards.
And okay. So Emmy will say, well, our what they say, minister. Maybe minister is probably an appropriate word. Always used to say that all we can do is the best we know how to do. The spirit will lead us in one way if we just have a good heart. That's the only way we can get through it, I think, is to believe that.
I hope having a good heart is enough.
All right, and she says, "Phew, well, that movie was heavy, and now all this too, huh? I was hoping it would take your mind off it, but well, I don't know. I just hope I'm being a good friend."
No, you are, and Fika will kind of put her arm around her.
Okay.
So you are. It's just me. I probably just need to get back out, and it's probably just normal first mission. Kind of have second guessing. It's probably normal to second guess the things you do on your first mission. So I guess I just got to get back out there.
Okay. I think we can leave you on that, and that's kind of okay. So that's kind of what I've got for now. I kind of felt like we just needed to build up some like just what do these people do going around town and what's their general lives like. So I don't really have much more after that. If you want to, I mean, I know it's pretty early, but if you want to like interact with each other, or if you have any idea of what you might do when you both get back into back onto base, if you would interact with each other at all, we can deal with that a little.
Well, if we were all going into South Station, Chalk would have offered to drive you and Emmy into South Station.
Okay, sure thing.
And any of the others wanted to go with us?
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, you probably dropped a couple other people off though. I actually meant to say, yeah, there's kind of like shuttle. Yeah, you can take you can take one of the regimental like little jeeps in, or there's shuttles going to and from. Like when you have R&R, a shuttle leaves the fort and goes to Masada and drops you off for the weekend and stuff like that. But so yeah, you'd be driving back to base in a little car. It's not, it's just a couple minutes.
And I think still at this point though, Fika will be having. So I think maybe if like Fika's had that conversation with Emmy, and then once they're like back with Chalk, or like getting the ride back, Fika's not gonna bring this up at all. So she's kind of clamped down and doesn't want this side of things to be exposed to her team. Even to Chalk, she wants to keep it sort of. So she's putting on.
Okay, so she's putting on a stoic face, and we could probably actually. I'm just adding to the fictional situation in my mind. You're probably stewing there for quite a while, because in order to get back to the fort, you have to go through the main like roundabout, and it's like jammed up. Like there's something like there's something going on, like second company is searching someone at the checkpoint, and so everything is backed up, and so you're just sitting in this roundabout for like several minutes in the like heat and exhaust of all these different vehicles, trying to get various places in or past the city.
And I guess now I'm thinking forward of like kind of Fika is now kind of trying to get her mind forward, so she'll ask Chalk. Have you heard any word about where we're going to be sent on patrol next?
Did I see our new patrol area?
Yeah, I think we can. I think we can foreshadow this a little. You're going to be heading out towards. There's a little hand. I think I might have you going all the way out towards Masaru. So more northwest than southwest. By the way, if you use the little ruler, I did actually set this up so the scale is accurate.
Oh, nice.
So it's like 40 something kilometers from the station to Masaru, up in the northwest side of the thing.
Oh, nice.
Like that. Yeah, I will like kind of look back towards Emmy, and I'll look to Fika, up northwest. So the numbered triangles are those.
Those are elevations. It's like Hill 736, okay. Hill 878. It's something I picked up from looking.
Then I'll probably say. I probably will say, between Hill 736 and 878, around Masaru.
People will kind of nod and say, anything interesting supposed to be out there?
The maps didn't say. I got as much information off the new map telemetry as I could, but it didn't really tell me much. But yeah, I think Chalk probably would have been right about to launch into telling Tika about how we're, the farm is a no-go zone, but she'll stop and
Okay.
say, but yeah, no, nothing much else, because she doesn't want to say that in front of.
Yeah, I mean, right. Yeah. Okay. All right. And at that moment, when you say nothing much, the traffic clears up, and you zip out of South Station and head back to the base. We can close it out there. I think while I think about what's going to happen on this next patrol.
Well, Chalk will definitely make fun of the second company guys.
Okay.
Like, come on, keep. You don't need to search every old lady, Johnson.